Excited to watch some dab. This is a really great pairing of players. We got Ddraig and azder, and both players are very good. Very excited to see what happens here, and we're getting a lot closer to the end of the tournament, so this should be a fun match.
Yep, and it seems that both players, Ddraig on the left and azder on the right, have both chosen row 1 for this bingo card. So we were talking about the bingo card a little bit before the race, and nothing looked too scary. But so what are you thinking that they might pair with row 1?
Well, it kind of depends. I'd like to give a quick shout out to our tracker extraordinaire, Spaghetti Toast Book, who mentioned that collect only one of Varia or gravity, or grab gravity and only without skipping Varia can be tough. And I agree. It just depends though on the player. A lot of players are very comfortable going wreck ship first. Some are not as much. It depends on kind of what their speedrunning background has been. I know azder for sure. That's not going to be a problem for him if he wants to do that. I'm not sure about Ddraig. So depending on that, the comfortability of each runner with that's kind of a big one. But 7 energy tanks is not too bad, but it's a little slow. Collecting spring ball without grapple beam is always a bit tricky. 60 Brinstar missiles is tough. So there's a few options on here that they could pair with. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what they do.
So chat is pointing out BLTR with row 1, which I believe that would eliminate any need to go into Norfair, since they would basically need gravity to get spring ball, especially without grapple. I guess they need to get high jump and ice from Norfair, but after that they could just leave pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're talking about wholesale skipping Norfair, you literally couldn't do bottom left, top right, because you have to finish in a Shine Spark. But if you're talking about, just grabbing like 1 or 2 items and then leaving, then obviously you could do that. And even if you're doing a large portion of Meridia, you're probably going to want to get Speed Booster. I would say Speed Booster is probably the single most important item in Dab, because it connects to so many of the different objectives. So we'll see what they choose to do.
Well, the thing about row 1 is all you really need to do is wreck ship and then a Brinstar collection to get enough E-tanks, and then get your Ice Beam high jump and go straight to Spring Ball. And theoretically, you could end in a Crystal Flash after getting Spring Ball. That would be the fastest route, I believe.
You could do that, but if you were going to do that, you would also have to have at least 3 power bomb packs. And I guess you'd have to get both power bombs in Red Tower and a power bomb in Meridia to be able to pull that off. Which wouldn't be that bad, honestly. You could pick up that first power bomb pack at the pit and then immediately fall down and go to Spring Ball. So that couldn't be too bad, but sometimes it's kind of tricky. I guess you could just run into Shack Tool enough times to get yourself into the right health range.
Well, what I'm saying here is you could you would go back into Brinstar, like do a cleanup after doing wreck ship. You could pick up a bunch of E-tanks like the Wave Gate and Edikun.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And you could get a bunch of power bombs like the Edikun PBs and maybe even Mission Impossible and Old Brinstar from there.
Yeah, I guess you'd probably only need 3 packs. I mean, I guess you could get a 4th pack just to make sure you had enough in case you needed to farm, or make sure you didn't need to farm some for the Crystal Flash. But yeah, we'll see what they choose to do. This is going to be a pretty interesting run. From your perspective, would you collect 25 Criteria missiles or 40 Brinstar missiles?
I think 40 Brinstar missiles is super free, honestly. You can get 20 just from the Alpha missile and the missiles at the reserve. It looks like Ddraig is actually going back to pick up the Beta missile, I would imagine. Or maybe get the
I think what here's my call. I don't know for sure, but I think what this means is he's going to grab the energy tank for having an extra tank to do a hell run to Speed Booster. I think he's actually going to go down and get speed booster before going to wreck ship.
That's actually, that could be the case. I would imagine he picks up the missile since he's over here, though, but
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
I mean that would be an extra. Okay, maybe not, but either way, to me that says hell run to speed, because there's a lot of people, as I mentioned earlier, who are not nearly as comfortable going wreck ship first with the CWJ or horizontal bomb jump. And honestly, I really, for real, don't. I would not blame him for doing this at all. In fact, I think it's a good play. If he thinks he can't get over the moat very easily, it's better to do something you're comfortable with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Ddraig is a very experienced rando runner, so he definitely has. He's definitely more comfortable with hell runs than maybe some of the ways to get across the moat without speed booster or grapple. So this actually makes a lot of sense. He can get up to 4 E-tanks with the, if he decides to kill Kraid and not pick. So he could get Kraid, high jump, the missile, the E-tank he just picked up, the Blue Brinstar, and then Terminator. I was lagging a little bit. Hopefully I didn't cut out there. But point is, he can have a pretty safe hell run if he decides to pick up as much as he can.
So, Derp, we were talking before we, got live here in front of everybody. And you mentioned several rows or columns that you thought could be tricky. Row 1 was definitely one of the good ones. Are there any other ones on here that you feel are maybe a little underrated and could have been a very solid pick?
Well, I told you this, but I think row 2 was what I've decided on. It's not too bad, but collect 60 Brinstar missiles is actually a lot more annoying than get 40, because a lot of missiles out of the way, like Kraid missile and all the missiles in Blue Brinstar, that you would just kind of have to backtrack to if you did the route. Well, I guess you wouldn't have to backtrack to Kraid missiles, but you would have to go out of your way to get them. And then, since everything else isn't honestly that bad, I think that's one of the worst, because it also forces you to go all the way through Meridia.
Okay, real quick, you'll note that azder grabbed the early super pack and then left immediately. That to me tells me he's going to do 25 criteria missiles instead of 40 Brinstar missiles. That's the forced. He's forced to do one or the other because of the square in column 2, row 1. But he skipped 3 missile packs in those 2 rooms. Two of them are in the Brinstar reserve room, and then one was under the bridge. But since he skipped those, I don't think we're going to see him collect any more Brinstar missiles other than this charge missile right here. Oh, it looks like he's going to skip. Okay, he's going to grab it. I'm a little surprised he just ran that strat, because that's definitely slower than grabbing them immediately. Maybe he just thought he didn't want them and then remembered that he probably did for the Phantom fight. But yeah, I think he's going to grab 25 criteria missiles, and I bet he ends up going to Gauntlet after wreck ship before heading back down to Brinstar cleanup, because that'll be 2 of the missile packs out of 5 that he has to get.
So another thing I want to note is that Ddraig never actually got the criteria map station, so to me that tells me he might not be doing that or anything that requires that tile, because getting that without, if you aren't getting the criteria map station basically right away, then it's kind of awkward to route it back in. So maybe he still is. If he's going criteria missiles, for example, he might want to pick up some of the missiles at the bottom of Parlor, which would require him to go by the map station again anyways. But there is a possibility he has something else in mind that we haven't seen yet.
True. And he could technically, I think Sloters did this the other day in his match with me. I think if D wants to go by, if he goes to wreck ship and then finishes and then goes to Brinstar cleanup, he could run straight by the Parlor again if he wanted to.
That being said, he is picking up the Brinstar missiles. He's up to 20 now with the early missiles and all the missiles from the reserve, like I said. So he just needs 4 more packs, and that is pretty easily done, honestly. He could pick up the 2 in Big Pink, the
Ooh.
1 in... Azder's getting
Yeah, I'm
another power
sorry
bomb.
to interrupt you, but that was a pretty big mistake by Asher there. Those big giant hoppers do, I think, 80 damage to the power suit. And basically, had he been hit one more time, he's about to get in health bomb range if he gets hit one more time by those spikes. But he got hit and took 80 damage, which is going to effectively stop him from being able to go to wreck ship with any level of comfort. In my opinion, it'd probably be smarter for him to just go, not even save here, but just go to the ship. Just go to the ship, refill, get all your stuff back, and then go over.
Well, it looks like he is probably going to farm this area a couple times just to get his health back up instead of going to the ship, which isn't a bad idea either, but is definitely suboptimal.
It
And
actually would have been faster than what he's doing now, though. The amount of time that he went to save versus the amount of health and ammo that he has, I think it would have been a way better decision, especially if he feels like he's favored in the matchup. It would have been way better to go to the ship.
I think I would agree with you there, honestly. But he looks like he's comfortable, even though he's a bit lower health than you would definitely prefer to be, and especially after taking that hit from the key hunter.
Took another 20. I mean, basically, when you have power suit, you take a lot of damage from everything on your way to wreck ship. So, and it's not like this is not probably going to happen. I mean, it's like super duper rare, but it's not impossible for him to accidentally mess up and take a hit from the ghost and wreck ship. Like, it's happened to everybody at least once, and those things do a ton of damage too. So, in a race scenario, I like the save. I just feel like he could have eaten a few more seconds and gotten more benefit, if that makes sense.
Okay, so Ddraig is in fact going up. So maybe he picked up that early E-Tank for a more comfortable Fantoon fight rather than to do hell runs. But
Yeah,
either way,
it looks like that's true.
Looks like he is going to go to Fantoon first.
Yeah, Pharaoh makes a good point in chat. I mean, I'm not saying Asher's going to die. I mean, it's definitely doable to kill Fantoon with 76 health. However, you have a lot less leeway, especially if you get an opening round fast, especially a left fast. Optimally, you're trying to run into some of the flames along the way to clear things up so you can have a better fight. So anyway, you're just allowing Fantoon to have more control over what happens. But luckily, he's getting a ton of health drops. Normally, you don't get that much from Fantoon, so he's in better shape now.
So I could be wrong. Oh, Ddraig actually needs to get out of this. Oh
no.
Yeah, I was gonna comment. That was 40 missiles for Ddraig, but he was too low and didn't manage to get the D-boost out of early PBs, and that's gonna cost him. He never saved.
That's really surprising, too. You don't normally see something like that happen, but anything can happen in Super Metroid.
Yeah, meanwhile, azder actually had a really nice, if we can talk on the positive side, azder had a really nice Fantoon fight. I think that was a 2-round, but either way, just getting the fight with that low health entering.
I'm pretty sure it was a 3-round, but I'm a big advocate, like, if you don't get the right setup immediately for a 2-round, especially in a race scenario, it's better to just sort of like play it safe and go for the 3-round. I think he executed that really well. And he's in much better shape now with his health, but he is going to need to farm, some before he gets to bowling. So I would imagine he's going to try to farm some up in the attic when he gets up there, as well as the atomic on the way.
To comment on chat, I would definitely not say it's over. There's still a few scary things that azder has to do. You talked about it. Bowling is one of them. If you mess up that, then things can go wrong very quickly. But even, I assume he's getting wreck ship E-Tank, unless he wants to make a deeper dive into Norfair.
Azder just made another, accidental but pretty hefty mistake right there. He ran too fast into that supers room because he's not really accustomed to running at that speed usually in most of the categories. Because in most categories, you jump up from the bottom and then run in there with minimal speed. Since he was coming from the other room, he ran in there and took a hit from the spark, which was pretty hefty. So as you can see now, he needs to get to at least 120, plus health for bowling. But a lot of times people want to have a good bit more than that for some leeway. If you want to give yourself, the most chance to live, even if you make a mistake, you actually need to get to 181 or higher.
That was a very clean attic from Azder as well. Yeah, I assume he's going to be picking up a couple criteria missiles, starting with this one right here. I don't know what this missile is called, but it is in criteria regardless. So that brings his total up to 10, I believe, including the moat missile.
Yeah, my assumption would be he's going to grab the ocean missiles on his way out of here. And then after that, he will probably go to Gauntlet to grab those two, and he'll be done. So that'll be 25, and he'll get the E-Tank as well. So great job. He's on a nice pace here. He's going to make it quite comfortably. His health is looking good. His ammo is looking pretty good. He still could choose to go to the ship before Gauntlet for safety, but more importantly, mostly for the power bombs. He already has 2 power bomb packs, but he's really low right now on power bombs. And it's just significantly faster to go through Gauntlet with them than without them.
Yeah, I think we definitely see Azder take a ship refill before Gauntlet, but that would put him at the criteria missile requirements. So from there, he, I don't know if he's been listening to us at all, but yeah, he could just do Brintstar cleanup, pick up a couple more E-Tanks. I think there's, I guess if you count the Blue Brintstar, there's 3 he can grab. And then go into Meridia. Well, go into Norfair, pick up his other things. He can get... Actually, he's going to go pick up the wrecked ship E-Tank, so...
I don't mind that play.
Just kind of theory crafting which E-Tanks he's going to pick up. I imagine he picks up Mama Turtle. He's definitely going to pick up High Jump.
He needs to be careful here because everybody gets a false sense of security with gravity, but it is still actually possible to die in this room. Very, very nicely done there, not taking any damage. But those platforms, even with gravity on, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, Derp, those platforms will do 50 damage to the gravity suit.
Yes, I believe that's correct. This is not rando, of course, so the spikes will do 15 damage with gravity and not the full 60, but it is still a very scary room. Luckily, with this E-Tank, he should be in the clear.
Yeah, you can just get trapped kind of accidentally K-going through those platforms. For reference, the other place you'll see those platforms, in a normal speed run is in the Wasteland in Lower Norfair. And so that's why a lot of times you'll see people run into the spikes in the Wasteland before K-going through, so they can save some energy, because if you just K-go through the platforms themselves, you take a lot more damage.
Yeah, just 30 damage from the spikes rather than a full E-Tank worth of damage from both platforms is a very significant difference, especially with Ridley right after, basically. But with that, Azder is exiting the wreck ship. Like you said, I imagine he picks up the ocean missiles, which it looks like he is setting up to do. And from there, he just needs 10 more criteria missiles, which he can get at the back of Gauntlet, which will give him another E-Tank. And from there, he needs 2 more E-Tanks if we assume he's picking up High Jump and Mama Turtle. And he will be able to get those in Brintstar with the Edecuns and the Wavegate E-Tank, if that's the route he decides to do.
Yeah, he's in nice shape now. There's nothing left that's like super dangerous. It's just, making sure all your ducks in a row, making sure that you know exactly what you want to pick up and not making any major mistakes. You know, a lot of times I think it's easy for the commentators or the chat to sort of like nitpick what's happening with the runners. But you know what it's like, Derp. I mean, like when you're actually in the middle of the race and you know somebody else is doing their race as well, and you're having to think about everything that's on the card and what you want to do and making sure you pick everything up, and you're trying to run strats, like it can get pretty stressful on the brain. So I think Asher's having a nice run here. He just got to make sure now that he checks everything off the list.
So, according to the tracker, I did not see it, but apparently Ddraig did pick up the map station this time around. So
He did, yes.
I assume maybe that means he forgot it last time, or he could have seen a different row. Like maybe he saw BLTR and wanted to do that now. Either one is very possible. But guess we'll just have to guess. Either way, he has the map station, so that opens up that BLTR line that is so nice.
Well, you know, I do want to point something out to give Ddraig a little bit of some leeway here. Ddraig and azder have actually demonstrated, you know, phenomenal sportsmanship throughout this process because Ddraig got sick when this match was originally scheduled, and then azder was totally fine with rescheduling it. And they rescheduled it, and then Ddraig had to reschedule it again because I think he said his girlfriend's family was coming into town. So if Ddraig makes any mistakes, I'm just going to blame it on his girlfriend's mom because in-laws, am I right?
The crowd goes mild.
Well, are you married, Derp?
I think you know I am not old enough to be married.
Have you ever been married?
Of course.
Give it another decade and you might have a different opinion on what I just said.
Anyways, we do see azder going down to Edekun's. I assume he's going to be picking up the supers and the power bombs. It's entirely possible that he doesn't pick up the super missile, but I think he'll definitely pick up the power bombs to do the crystal flash at the end that I was talking about. Although that being said, oh, I guess not. Guess he has enough.
Well, I mean, the crystal flash is only in the middle tile, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I assume he wants to crystal flash at the end after getting spring ball.
Oh, okay. I would have assumed that he was going to go down and get speed booster to make everything easier.
I mean, that would be easier, don't get me wrong, but with such a short time in Meridia, theoretically, just getting Mama Turtle and then going through the sand hallways to get to spring ball, I don't think speed booster really helps you too much in those rooms in particular.
Well,
azder...
yeah, it probably adds about 30 seconds or maybe a little bit less when you don't have speed booster in the Mama Turtle room. So that wouldn't really be worth going to pick up speed booster. Everest is probably going to add about 15 seconds. So yeah, it's probably pretty close, but it's not going to be that close.
Yeah, of course, like you just said, it's easy for us to nitpick watching the race, but when you're in a race, you might just, like, seeing finish in Shine Spark or Crystal Flash, that might go into your head as finish in a Shine Spark, which I would not blame anyone for thinking that. That is usually the easier of the two. I think this is a very niche scenario where it would not be. And he's going into Retro Brinstar to pick up the power bombs. Is that faster than the Edekuns would be?
I don't think so. But he might have changed. He might have just changed his mind. You know what I mean? Like, it might be that he just thought that he wanted to skip him and then realized that he didn't want to.
Actually, it might not be. It might be faster, slightly. Not really sure. Azder gonna refill his super missiles down below the bridge. Get some from his dealer. The cack attacks, of course. Azder in chat saying he did a dumb, and then correcting himself saying he didn't do a dumb. I guess we'll have to guess.
Spazer.
I assume that's the dumb he was talking about?
Nah, he needs that to do the ice clip. You can't. I mean, I guess you can, but it's very unlikely that people would want to do the ice clip with just ice beam alone. He probably wants to use a certain setup where he can freeze the Puyo like on its first jump or whatever, and so you would at least need Spazer or Wave to be able to do that.
It is very possible that if he is going to get Speed Booster, he might also go to get Wave. I think what he was talking about may have been breaking the tube. Might have done it and then thought he didn't want to break it, but in this case it would be faster.
Yeah, I don't know why he would feel like that was a mistake. I mean, that's like super common in a gravity first route. But oh well, we'll see what happens.
Like I said, for the moment we can only guess what he's talking about. Meanwhile, Ddraig has made it past where he was before, did get the alpha power bombs and missiles, and make it out safely. He also grabbed those beta power bombs, so that puts him at 10 as well. And it looks like he is also going to go refill and potentially save at the ship.
Azder doing the rare energy tank grab on the way out of high jump boots. He's got now 6 energy tanks, so assuming his last one is, Mama Turtle, that should get him his 7 energy tanks. So he's going to grab Ice Beam, and then we'll see if he elects to leave immediately or go get Speed Booster. But I think, Derp, I think you're right, man. I think he grabbed that extra Power Bomb pack purposefully so he could do a Crystal Flash. He'll just have to find a way to grab some extra Power Bombs to make sure he's got enough. Can you explain to everybody the ammo that you need to Crystal Flash in case they don't know? A lot of times people get tripped up because they think it's 10 for everything, but that's actually not true.
Yeah, you would need 11 power bombs because it drains 10 of each ammo, and you need to fire off a power bomb to initiate the Crystal Flash. So 10, 10, and 15 at minimum, unless you're in a position where you can get a power bomb drop. And even then, you wouldn't want to do that because that would require picking up a power bomb drop and then moving back to where you just were. And Ddraig, I want to shout that out. Got the first try CWJ. So
let's go, baby.
That definitely feels really good.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've done a CWJ or a horizontal bomb jump at this point like hundreds of times in runs, and even now I get excited to get it. The mode is so stressful in a race, so every time you get across, it's a very good feeling.
So Azder is actually making really good pace, by the way. I want to point that out. This is very potentially... Ddraig having some trouble getting over the ocean, but this is potentially the fastest race in the tournament if he gets the ice clip quickly.
Yeah, I think he probably will. He does need to just be careful to collect those power bombs that he needs. But as you mentioned, you and I were talking about this beforehand, the collection on this particular card is not that crazy. So his pathing has been pretty solid. I mean, I can't imagine this taking more than just a few more minutes for him to finish.
He picks up his final E-Tank, so now it's just pick up Spring Ball and finish in a Crystal Flash, we assume. Ooh, Ddraig. ending up in the ghost hitbox, takes 2 hits. That is not what you want to see.
This is where things start to slow down a little bit because of not having the speed booster. It's not super slow, but definitely adding a few more seconds to the room than being able to just speed booster Shine Spark up there.
Yeah, it looks like he is taking a slightly different route to Shacktool than I was thinking. I think he's going to grab the Meridia Power Bomb though, since he isn't full on Power Bombs, and he needs at least 11, like we were just talking about. So luckily, that is right on the way to Spring Ball. Yeah, if he gets the Ice Clip quickly, this could be like a 32 something. This is actually crazy.
Well, I'm not trying to be negative, but I don't think it's that crazy. This card is not hard at all in terms of what could be offered. So this is a very good time, but there's nothing on here that would push this card into the 40s. So assuming he gets this pretty quickly, he should be finishing with like maybe a 32-30-ish.
Yeah, something like that. Ddraig, he's Phantoon's almost dead. Okay, never mind. He got it.
He's got it.
Got a bit low, but he was never worried. Interestingly, he didn't get health bombed. I thought he would. Azder is having a bit of trouble with the Ice Clip.
Yeah, and this is the danger of, Spring Ball. It's like, even though he knows how to do it, and we all know how to do it, it's still, you can still get stuck, you know what I mean? Like, it's not super easy to do. It's something that you can accidentally just be barely off because the number of frames you have to get it are pretty small. There we go.
Nice. Now he just needs to get to Spring Ball. He can damage himself down here on Shacktool, get himself below 50 health. That is the other requirement of the Crystal Flash. That isn't the ammo requirement. And then he is all but finished here. I assume he's gonna wait till the end to take the last hit from Shacktool there, just in case things went wrong.
And there we go. All he's got to do is hit the fanfare and press the buttons, and he's good to go.
And he has finished with an official SRL time of 33 minutes and 30 seconds. And
GG, that is the fastest time, as we mentioned earlier, by over a minute. 33:30 is going to be hard to beat, I believe, in this tournament. Yeah, there just wasn't a ton of collection here, and so many things lined up. I mean, if you think about it, grabbing Gravity Suit is something you'd have to do anyway. That covered one of the squares. Spring Ball covered 2 of the squares. Skipping Wave, which was something you didn't even need at all, covered another square. So Azder really only ended up kind of having to do like 2 or 3 things that he wouldn't normally do. Very well routed, and GG.
Yep. Speaking of Azder, we have him in right now. So GG, Azder.
Hello. Thank you.
And so first thing I want to ask is, you were talking about how you did a dumb. So I kind of want to know what you were thinking there.
Yeah, so I already routed in my head. I routed in the Meridia Power Bomb from right Sandpit. So the dumb thing I did was get the Power Bomb from Blue Brindstar, because I realized I didn't need it.
Actually, yeah, it probably still saved you time, though, because then you weren't at the mercy of having to farm the crabs and stuff, so it worked out for you.
Yeah, that's why I still got it. But, like, I was like, wait, I could have been a bit smarter about it, but like I was thinking like in terms of this is a super fast row, maybe I can get a top time. So it's like, even though it was like wasn't going to decide the race, I was kicking myself for it.
Yeah, I gotta ask. This was one of the easiest cards that I've seen anybody have to run, and I'm kind of surprised y'all selected row one. Can you explain to me like why you chose row one as opposed to some of the other ones on here?
Oh, I just figured Ice Clip and being forced to get gravity first was going to screw him.
Okay, that actually makes sense. For you, how were you feeling when you saw row one? Did it seem like hey, this is going to be pretty comfortable, or how quickly did it take you for you to be able to kind of put together the bottom left, top right?
Oh, it was actually like I hadn't looked too much at the rest of the card when I was assigning the row, and I didn't realize how easy it was going to be to pair this until he assigned it to me as well. So like within a few minutes, like I got criteria map. I pretty much knew what I was doing by then, but I was really debating between that and column one. So I was thinking, well, maybe don't get criteria missiles and just get Brinstar missiles. And I was thinking, okay, both the recharge stations. Man, I got to go to Kraid. That's like literally just going to Kraid is worse than the stuff in the other row. So.
Gosh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, you really executed well. The only area where you kind of got into a little bit of trouble was accidentally taking that shot from the big hopper at the top of Red Tower. So other than that, though, like everything was quite smooth. Did that make you nervous? Did you consider going to the ship? We talked about how you could have potentially gone over there too. Like, were you a little nervous during the Phantom fight?
Oh no, I was totally fine because like I've done it a lot of times with that amount of energy, and I could have died, but I saved, so I wasn't feeling too bad about it. If I hadn't saved, I would have been really nervous, I think.
Cool. Were you watching the restream? Did you see that he had died early in the run?
I can't watch, but I saw from chat that he died, yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, dude, that was a really good match. GG. And again, I want to sort of thank you and just kind of point out to everybody again that you guys are really cool and showed a lot of sportsmanship for rescheduling this match multiple times, which I think was awesome. And you, went out of your way to make sure that you could accommodate him and his schedule. So that was really awesome. Derp, I'll let you ask a few questions. I'm going to pull up the schedule and see, what races you'll have coming up, Azder, since you have moved on to the next round.
There's one thing I want to show off real quick, actually. So, I have... Oh, when I did the Crystal Flash, it put me with 0 power bombs left. But I still have power bombs selected, so I can actually still do this.
I guess we'll see it in a second.
All right, that was it.
That's pretty cool. I did not know that. So I don't have a lot of questions. So I guess, how does it feel to be the fastest dabber in the tournament?
It feels pretty good. I think it's kind of funny that that happened with the two people with the prior fastest times commentating.
Yeah, dude, you only let me hold on to it for like 2 days. What's up with that?
Yeah, at least Kip gave me a couple weeks. Come on.
Oh, man. Oh, probably another thing I could have done better was I could have gotten Retro Brain E-Tank instead of Wreck Chip E-Tank. I realized that later. I was like trying to play with which E-Tanks I wanted to get.
Okay, here we go. So your next matchup, Aster, in the losers bracket will be against Canadian Al, who has had a great tournament so far, and I think his only loss is against Sloters. And then the winner of that match will then face off against whoever ends up being at the end of the Woody Farrell Freya Spirit portion of the bracket. So at this point, I mean, there's just a bunch of really good players playing each other, and we got a bunch of tight matchups coming up. So I don't know how long you'll have to wait I guess you don't have to wait at all. Since you and Canadian Hour are already on the schedule here, you can kind of do that whenever. But then y'all might have to wait a little bit for your next opponent. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think Al's been waiting for like 3 to 5 weeks for this match or something like that.
Well, Azure, I'll close with GG, man. You did a great run, and looking forward to seeing you more in the tournament down the line. And hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you, Dirt, for the commentary, dude. It was fun.
Yeah, no problem. So, as for races coming up, we do have one more today at 10 p.m. We have P-Toil versus Beeps. Then on Saturday at 3 p.m., we have Rumblemans versus yours truly for one of the winners bracket races. Not to flex, but I'm definitely flexing.
That's the Final Four, man. You versus Rumble. You excited?
Yeah, I mean, the winner goes on to play the other. Gets to play Kip right after. Or not right after, but...
Winners bracket final. I'm looking forward to it, no matter who wins. So, Derp and Rumble, I'm looking forward to a fun matchup, man.
Yeah, I think Rumble's a pretty good runner. I'm excited for this race. And then on Sunday, after that, we have, I believe... Hold on, I lost my...
Tell you what, real quick. Astor, are you still here?
Yeah, what's up?
All right, Derp, let's make a deal. All right, if you win against Rumble, let's have a gentleman's agreement to assign the easiest row possible, both to each other, so we can beat Astor's time. What do you think?
Oh my god, dude.
I don't know about that one.
You gotta be kidding me.
Nah, I'm a fair player. I can't do that to my boy Asher. Anyways, as I was saying, on Sunday, also 3 p.m. Or no, 5 p.m. rather, so a little bit after, we have Woody versus Farrell, and that is going to be it for the currently scheduled matches. I don't really have anything else to say, so Kip or Asher, if you have anything to add.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, chat. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Enjoy your weekend.
Well, in that case, shout outs to SpeedGaming and, of course, the tracker, STB, for making this all possible and making things easier on us. And if you're going back to sleep right after this, I don't blame you, because that's probably what I'm going to do. And so for everyone who's doing that and everyone who doesn't have the opportunity to, hope you all have a wonderful day, and we will see you tonight.